really want to go deep into that direction. Again, Parukia, a player you can target with a couple of bans. Some major picks left up on the board. Rumble in particular still available, but it's going to be 3 AD carries banned out for OMG. They saw Leave's positioning at the end of game number 1, and they said, hey, no more comfort for you. You know, we are we're taking everything that you want to play away, as the Unara gets the final ban. Rumble available.
Might be the big highlight pick for OMG. Just lock it in as a reliable blind pick. Don't know if ZDZ has the Aurora counter matchup locked in his inventory here, or at least his champion pool effectively. ZDZ could just go for a tank matchup and just try to be a massive front line for EDG, but at least they're going to try and deny the hot pot combo and look for J4 for Xiaohao. Have definitely enjoyed this guy's performance on this champion in the past, even when before Jarvan was meta. One of the things about Xiaohao is if he can ever use Fog of War to his advantage and he has information on where the other jungler is, has been able to deceptively bait in teams into thinking that they are safe before springing the trap. We'll see if he can bring some more of that play into the second game, as Leave just gonna go ahead and grab a decent priority AD carry in this Corki.
I like this pick for EDG. I was a little bit concerned they weren't going to go towards it, but OMG, we talked about it in the Game 1 draft. They're throwing down the gauntlet. It's almost certainly going to be the Ashe Seraphine here on 2-3 for OMG. This has been one of their most played bot lanes across all of this year. They've really been the team in the LPL to prioritize this Ashe Seraphine. It basically says, hey, if you want to go for something like a Nami and play for the 2v2, we're still going to be able to take you down. You know, if Parukia especially goes for the Nautilus or another one of these tank engagers that we talk about being a specialty, it's going to be a really hard laning phase for the Corki to play out, and that takes away a big advantage of that champion in the meta. You know, really like this adaptation from OMG, at least at the start of the draft here. But it is going to be the Ornn that is locked in. They're going to be saving support pick for later to at least keep some options up on the board and get that more stable matchup, as you pointed out, into the Rumble.
Okay, well, this can open up a world of possibilities for Parukia in the bot lane now, because not only you have Ornn as a reliable tank, someone that can face check into bushes and give you long-range engage, but Jarvan also provides some of the strongest initiation that any jungler can provide in the current meta. So Parukia, your responsibilities to force a fight are no longer on your shoulders. You can pick something that might be out of your comfort zone or what we have seen from you on stage, but it could at least give you and Leave a better matchup into the Ashe Seraphine.
Yeah, and what this really tells me is that they want to play really aggressive out of the mid lane. I imagine that that is going to be a direction that we go here for the rest of these bans. The Blitzcrank actually taken off the board from OMG. Clearly some tech here for Parukia that they do not want to see. Again, you talk about things like the Nautilus that are definitely more up his comfort alley, but I would really prefer something that is more, you know, aggressive in the early game, something that can really make a play or move around the map. If you want to leave Corki on an island, something like a Bard could theoretically work here as well if they wanted to go in that direction. Wukong taken off the board alongside the Akali. Akali is what I was really looking for potentially here for Angel. With that off the board, a lot of his assassins are not necessarily in play here. You know, it's going to be really interesting to see what they want to pair up with this Jarvan.
Does Haichao lock in a blind Silas into Angel? That is something that it's kind of on my mind at the moment, because just grabbing something like Call of the Forge God and even a Tempered Fate could really, really help OMG line up a Seraphine Encore afterwards and guarantee a lot of the wombo combos to come through from OMG. But this is going to be Parukia's Bard debut, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check his GOL and see if he's played Bard.
He's got one game on it this year.
Okay.
Does have a victory on it, so has at the very least gotten a little comfortable. Vi still on the board. This could be the Vi Ahri lock-in pretty easily if they want to go in that direction. Vi Talia, also a very strong duo. Plenty of mid lane roaming champions available that kind of throw down the gauntlet once again for Angel to play something that can match that tempo in the middle of the map. You do not want to scale into this Rumble Ashe Seraphine, you know, entire shebang. Like, there's a lot of engage on EDG's side, but the sustain and the amount of mid-game pressure that you've now generated with a winning bot side and likely a winning middle of the map is huge. Malzahar, we highlighted it, has been the pick for Angel. It would make a lot of sense in this draft if they want to go that direction.
I can understand the contemplation of having something like an Ahri to skirt around and away from the unraveled earth and dodge out on these long-range engage tools like the Ash Arrow and the Seraphine Encore. Probably the safer choice for Angel. Can always save the Malzahar for later in the series. It also gives you flexibility of either peeling back towards the back line and trying to help get a threat off of Leave's back, but also being able to lunge forward with the Jarvan and the Ornn, trying to make that engage in the first place. So EDG, in terms of team fighting, they have strong initiation, but I wouldn't say they have the most inspiring team fighter carries on their side, because Corki, short range compared to other hyper carries in the other stages of the game. But for OMG, once again, it is a wombo that they're trying to set up here. And I want to ask you, Kman, is there a point in this game where OMG's composition falls off?
I wouldn't necessarily say falls off, depending on the way that they play it, but they need a gold lead. They will fall off immediately if they go down a significant amount in gold. If they're not able to control vision and really set up around rivers and around these major neutral objectives, it's going to be really hard for them to play the comp that they want. Seraphine really relies on that. You have so much damage in the late game with both Ashe and Rumble if you can get there, but no tank is very scary, and you've got a lot of targets that are very trappable from a Jarvan ultimate that could be really, really dangerous to play into. It's really going to be up to the proactivity of the mid-jungle duo that we already saw have a great game one.
Let's see how it all unfolds here as we hit the riff for game 2 between OMG and EDG. Okay, cool. We got Gyos for both teams. It wasn't many, but we still had Gyos, and that is a win in my book.
Definitely agree. We got the fan base waking up a bit here for game number 2, and how can you not after that game number 1 that was so much fun to watch? Starry and Moham got a lot of pressure on them in this game. The Ashe Seraphine, they're really a big proponent of this bot lane. As the aggression comes out early, we are already seeing that standard heal dropped at level 1 for these supports, as has become basically the meta down on the bottom side at this point. The question is, how much can this bot lane duo end up getting? Got a lot of lanes here that I think individually are winning. The Talia into the Ahri is going to be very good through the first couple of levels. Of course, you draft the Ashe Seraphine to win early in the 2v2, but that can really be enabled by a Vi. It can start to affect the map at level 6. That's when I'm really going to start getting interested in what OMG is going to do.
The global potential for cross-map arrows is also a scary prospect. If you are EDG, trying to just mind your business, farming a wave on the top side of the map, or if you're just trying to get a wave crashed in as mid lane and then suddenly, boom, arrow hits you in the face, stun for 2 seconds, and then sets up a nice Talia combo. Leave might be in trouble. Forced to flash away. Starry's just going to flash after him, but great Cosmic Binding for Parukia. Still not enough. Parukia might be able to at least get a trade kill, but it's still first blood in the pockets of OMG's AD carry.
And that is the Ashe Seraphine that we are looking for. The combat pressure coming out of this 2v2. That is a really big pickup. Xiaohao in the area. Moham is overextended.
Moham has flash available, would have to... Oh, but the setup with the Cosmic Binding guarantees the EQ flag and drag knockup, and Moham knows he ain't going anywhere. It's the second kill picked up for EDG.
It looks like such a good play for OMG at the start there with Starry picking up first blood, and it still is very, very good. Starry in a spot where he's going to be able to really pressure at this lane phase and push this Corki down, kind of force the Bard to be a little bit less mobile on the map, but a kill for Jarvan accelerates that champion quite a bit, even if it delays his jungle rotation just a tad. We're going to see a potential contest here over Scuttle.
Both junglers, level 4. Flag and drag right onto the Vi to begin it. And he interrupts. Oh, great use of the flash to stop the Vault Breaker from Rio getting over the wall. He flashes over to Moham, gets the shield thanks to the W. But another flag and drag keeps him in range to knock his lights out. And now Leave is getting ready to join the fray. There is still a flash available on Moham, so he can walk out safely. But EDG, they're the ones with the early beatdown so far, as Leave is just going to vouch for it because they've got a magical journey and a flag and drag on a flashless Ashe. That means that Ashe has been taken down.
Oh, it's just gorgeous from EDG. All of that passive gameplay that we saw out of them in game 1, throw that out the window. They are here to play in game number 2. Xiaohao with 2 kills now on the Jarvan. We wanted to see more out of this duo coming from, you know, the jungle and the mid lane, but really it's Xiaohao in this game that has pushed it forward. And look at this wave. Look at this wave right now that Starry is going to miss quite a significant amount of. He's level 2. Leave is level 4. Obviously, he'll hit level 3 off of these minions, but it's a massive advantage for EDG that continues to really grow. It's as perfect of a start as you could ask for.
Very nice start for EDG, and one that at least answers back a lot of the questions we had after game 1, where it was OMG that was leading the charge and making all of the decisions proactively, and EDG just trying to wait for a mistake to happen. Might be just a little bit more respect being paid by the EDG squad going into this game too. And if you are an EDG fan, this is the kind of recalibration that you would love to see out of a team that should have the experience advantage over a younger team like OMG.
This is exactly what you wanted to see. It's a great point out. Parukia 2-0-2 on this Bard. Going to be a playmaker. We talked about that potentially getting scary for the Bard after that level 1 or, you know, the 2v2 kill on the bottom side of the map. But with all of that tempo going back in favor of Leave, the gold going even in terms of these AD carries, it opens up the map for this Bard to now play with the Jarvan and the Ahri. And I can't think of really a more explosive trio than that in the early game. So we see both junglers on the bottom side. Rio making his way into this lane, potentially looking for a lane gank, but Xiaohao would be here to dissuade it with the dragon up.
Has not been spotted. Rio's just going to channel the recall at the moment. Xiaohao is in the area. Rio, patience is rewarded. The Vault Breaker gets a decent chunk on the Leaves HP bar, but doesn't threaten him. Still has cleanse available for any incoming roots off of the Seraphine. Does not need it. And Xiaohao is just going to get first bite on this dragon. And Rio, without a flash, cannot go over the wall and contest. It would be a one-way trip.
Yeah, he is not going to be taking that trade deal. He'll be happy to give up this first dragon after everything that's happened on the bottom side of the map. Ahri as well, shading over towards this dragon, just makes it completely free. And level 6 is acquired for this Jarvan. Could be looking for a play.
Magical Journey into the Cataclysm. That forces the flash out of the Seraphine, but Starry could still be in trouble. Just not enough damage so far for Parukia and Leave early on to go for that one shot. It's a nice Cosmic Binding snipe, just continuing to chunk out this Ashe.
Just continues to get worse, though, for the Ashe. Level 4 now. About to hit level 5, but Xiaohao is still in the area. He's blown the ultimate. Might not need it for this gank under tower if they want to go for it. Health bars are pretty low. This would be a decently risky gank, but I'm trying to bait him out.
I mean, even Angel is ready for the play. Haichao preemptively roamed over to protect his bot lane, but now the Spirit Rush from Angel forces him off. Weaver's Wall at the ready. Can he try and look for it? Oh, wait a minute. Ashe already died to Parukia. Haichao is looming around the shadows, but knows that he cannot save Moham from certain death when his flash is already gone. And look at the flip of the switch in EDG's game plan. Game 1, pretty passive and letting OMG run the show, but it's this time around, it's EDG that are pushing the acceleration forward, and it's all through Leave in the bot lane.
Insane just how decisive EDG have been throughout this game. It was the one thing we needed to see out of them to see how this starts. It's just one rocket landed, and then, of course, Bard comes in. It's very easy to line that up and to knock him down for Parukia as he picks up the kill onto Starry, and at this point, Moham, a sitting duck for the 4 people under tower. I mean, EDG are just dominating. Every macro move they are making right now is the correct one. They have a 1.5k gold lead at 8 minutes into the game with their dragon already taken. Grubs are spawning onto the map right now, and I imagine they're going to have a lot of priority over those as well.
Parukia does have a majority of the gold and the kills picked up, but Xiaohao has the other half of the kills for the most part. I wonder what first item Parukia can go for instead of just a normal tank item to, like, really leverage this advantage. It probably will just still be a locket to negate a lot of the burst coming in. Rio immediately pulls the cease and desist, and Haichao is waiting with the Weaver's Wall, and poor Xiaohao is like, My bad, guys. I did not realize they were going to send the whole Avengers there, and Xiaohao was just waiting. Wait a minute. If everyone
they're
leaves,
backing.
they're basing. They have no idea. It's all once Moham connects the recall. Xiaohao feels confident enough to just look for Starry off the play. Encore stops him for now. Two-man Calismic binding from Parukia, and he gets his 4th kill of the game. Moham might be next on the platter. Rio cannot stop this Jarvan from wrecking mayhem in the bot lane.
The hidden Jarvan ends up coming out of the bush to turn that play back around for EDG. It looks like a very decisive call from OMG, exactly what they needed to do with that Vi ultimate to be able to pull some gold back, but it just doesn't matter. EDG are in the right spot, and they are able to equalize. This is a 3-0-3 Jarvan, a 4-0-4 Bard for Parukia. He's got that ultimate available, and we talked about Grubs being on the map. They weren't even prioritizing them yet. This Bard has so much tempo that he can roam there whenever he wants to make sure that this can work. He's going to get some vision down, but I imagine on this back, that objective is going to be next on the list for EDG as they continue to just control the entire map here on Summoner's Rift.
Yep. Thunder Sky already completed for Xiaohao's Jarvan. As he's making his way towards the top side of the map, Parukia. With these two components, looks like it's either a Mikhail's or a Redemption coming in. First item on this board. Tempered Fate. Immediate flash by Haichao, but he's going to continue the chase. He has a wall angle, potentially. Cosmic Binding does not connect the stun, but Angel and Xiaohao are here to follow up on a flashless Talia. And without any mid lane pressure from OMG, that should be free grubs for EDG.
I mean, the grubs were already pretty free. I think that's just going to solidify it even more. I mean, this is where the inexperience of OMG at times can come into play. This map is not theirs. Right now, there is no way for them to be able to contest over these objectives. Haichao's just a little too far forward. Rio will try and fight Xiaohao. He's going to be able to get one of the grubs.
You can have that last grub. No big deal. We got 2 for EDG. And they're up 2,000 gold, but at least Rio will be able to secure 1 grub for OMG's troubles. It's a pretty decent objective advantage from the side of EDG so far. It's all about how well they can continue this snowball and this momentum. First item spikes already picked up for most of the members now on EDG. I saw Malignance already picked up for Angel. Very important core item, and that gives Ari a lot more playmaking potential as we head into the mid-game.
Like, if you thought the game was hard, you know, before, now that you're down 2,000 gold, now you have item spikes on Jarvan, Ari, Bard that are going to be more active in the mid-game here. It's going to be even tougher to play around these objectives. Rio is going to queue into the pit. He's stuck here. If they did want to look for a play, bot lane is pushed up, and so they do have some protection, but Haichao's the target.
Oh boy. Encore as a response saves Haichao's life for now. Angel doesn't quite have the Spirit Rush. Oh boy, Xiaohao sent it for the kill, but does not finish off Haichao. Ends up giving him a fat shutdown. ZDZ not going to be able to join the play as Hery was already making his way over to the Dragon Pit. So ZDZ is going to collect some plates for himself on the Ornn, and this should guarantee at least 1 dragon over to OMG in the early game. But Angel and Parukia going to see if they can at least play interference, forcing the flash out of Hery's Rumble, leave, occupying 2 members' attention on the right side. Still ends up being an Infernal Dragon picked up for OMG, but they did their best in stalling out time for ZDZ to pick up as many plates as he could.
Really not that bad of an exchange for OMG, considering the game state. Obviously, it's going to be hard to find good exchanges at this point, but you're right. Getting gold onto some of these priority targets in the later part of the game is going to be the most important part of scaling this out for OMG. As much as we can talk about them having no real front line to be able to play these front-to-back 5v5s, Hery picking up a kill there, you know, is going to matter for some of these late-game fights that end up coming around if they can manage to get there. So, see what Parukia wants to do. He's walking into a couple people.
Oh, Parukia, and can't get the magical journey in time. The season desist goes through, and it's enough damage for Starry to pick up a big shutdown on Parukia's Bard.
Hey, I'm not going to say anything, but this Ashe has a lot of gold. I mean, it's not the most efficient place to put it right now in terms of being able to make plays around the map happen, but these are the kinds of picks you need to get in order to get back into the game. That is a big shutdown onto a good target with the Ashe for the late game damage. As long as you make sure that this Ornn doesn't get too out of control, if you get a couple more of those, you can start to find yourself back in this game. It's only a 500, 600 gold lead here for EDG, and look at where that gold is. So much of it is on the supports for EDG here in Parukia. not as bad of a game state for OMG as maybe you would have thought just a couple of minutes ago.
Potential 4-man Adventure Squad. They're looking for Hery's Rumble. They know that he doesn't have Flash thanks to Angel popping it earlier. And it's just too easy for EDG to get Hery knocked down.
Yeah, it's a great counter answer here from EDG to make that play on the top side. Got the Rift Herald spawning. You want to be able to control that objective. Obviously makes a lot of sense to continue to push forward on the top side of the map here. See how much they want to try. OMG want to try and counter that elsewhere on the map. For now, it's just going to be a tower falling. EDG getting even more gold into the pocket of their Ahri. Very important for the late game as well. If that Ahri lands one charm onto this squishy front line, it could be the end of the game just in general. So Angel hitting that level 11 and getting those items online is pretty massive for the team.
Uh-oh. Angel does not know that Rio is in range for a cease and desist. Weaver's Wall coming out. Angel immediately pops the Spirit Rush, and Rio will not make the ill-fated decision of sending a point-and-click ulti all the way under a tower. But it does at least get the Ahri's ultimate out. One thing I want to point out, Kman, is that because ZDZ got a lot of gold for free while Hery was trying to help OMG control that second dragon, he's now rushed to Kanik Rookern, and he's doubling down on MR because he's just recognizing that Starry, as an Ashe, doesn't really do damage to tanks. So if he just has a ton of MR, I think this Ornn is unkillable.
I mean, it's not just Ornn. That becomes a little bit unkillable. This Jarvan is going to be hard to kill in the late game as well. That is the disadvantage of this OMG draft, is if you're trying to play front to back around the Ashe, things do get a lot more difficult because you don't have a tank and they have a lot of good tanks. And it becomes very impossible to imagine a world where you're going to be able to break through their front line in the right way. The benefit to, the other part of that is that you have a lot of pick tools here on OMG. You have a lot of ways to play side lanes, and you take towers really fast if you do want to prioritize that. If the Ashe is pretty far ahead, Starry might not be the most useful champion when you're talking about these immediate fights, but there is a use for the Ashe if you can find those big arrows and potentially get gold into the pockets of things like Rumble in the late game.
All right, sorry. Uh-oh, Temper Fate right onto Ashe. Cosmic Bind doesn't necessarily connect the stun, and he's firing back with the arrows, slowing him down, giving Moham the ability to look for an encore right on top of Angel. Forced to use the Spirit Rush just to get out of harm's way, but Rio almost sends it. Haichao looking for the raw seismic shove, does not find it onto Angel, but he is forced to recall. TP is coming in from ZDZ to try and protect this tower from falling, but the Rift Herald already gets the work done, and OMG have successfully opened up the center part of the map.
That's exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this Ashe in terms of being useful. Yeah, when you look at these 5v5s breaking through Ornn, breaking through Jarvan, it's going to be difficult, but if you can find good picks onto the Bard or onto the Ahri, things are going to get a lot easier. This Ashe can definitely still be useful. So we saw there, Dragon spawning in 15 seconds. Will be a bit tougher now for OMG to be able to contest. A lot of resources used, no Ashe Arrow, no Seraphine ultimate, some pretty big cooldowns. Tempered Fate also on cooldown right now for Parukia, but EDG have full control of this river and are going to look to take this dragon as quickly as possible.
Hawkshot will reveal the dragon has been started. So is Angel trying to help look for a pick, going through the dragon pit. Xiaohao secures it. ZDZ is the first one knocked up, forced to flash away. Cease and desist takes him into the middle of L5, forcing Rio to flash back into his own team. And they're just pelting away with arrows. Xiaohao into the Cataclysm, locks down Hery into the pit, but ZDZ is the first one to fall. Rest of EDG now contemplating whether they want to continue the fight or not. Charm goes wide, and the rest of OMG are able to push EDG out of the river.
And that's a fight, like I said, without both of the bot lane ultimates. No Arrow, no Seraphine ultimate available for OMG, and they still are able to pick up a kill. Yes, they give over the dragon. Not ideal to continue to stack that, but Starry is really starting to get a lot of gold onto this Ashe. The flash was very important there, and obviously we will see how that ends up playing out with the lack of mobility in the late game, but the pathway for OMG to be able to get back here is starting to become more and more clear. We see EDG setting up around this objective. Haichao having to use wall to just get in, but they prioritize this dragon a little too much, and yes, ZDZ is very tanky at this point in the game, but he's not unkillable. He's not completely infinite right now on the Ornn. Eventually, if you keep walking forward, you're going to be able to make this happen. The flash out of the Cataclysm ends up keeping Starry safe, but that is the only forward tool tool right now for EDG. If Xiaohao can't find that angle to stick on the Ashe, OMG definitely have ways to win these fights.
I think that's the only small win that EDG can take going into the next fight, is that flashes have been burned out of a few targets from OMG, which makes it easier to lock them down for a second engage combo. But OMG, they keep the gold lead somewhat even with EDG, and showing that this composition is still very terrifying to deal with at this stage of the game. We're still 3 minutes away from another dragon spawning, so nothing to fret about for either team in terms of the dragon stacking department. However, Baron is coming up in 44 seconds. Now, I don't know if either of these teams are I'm the most enthusiastic about trying to rip a Baron. Thankfully, at least, you got a Rumble with Liandry's, so that's a lot of percentage max HP damage you can get on if he is committed to sticking to the Baron rather than trying to look for a flank angle himself. But the rest of EDG trying to deny that possibility by getting in this topside river and clearing out the vision that OMG has laid down.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword here for Baron. EDG are the team that kind of wants to rush it because of the game state right now, but they can't because of their comp. Whereas OMG probably have the damage to be able to take it relatively quickly, but they don't want to take a fight without that Ashe flash on and available to be able to get out of the Jarvan ultimate, the Cataclysm. So a bit of a stalemate here around the major objective. It's going to be OMG just clearing out the vision that is set, and I imagine things are going to stall out a bit until we wait for those cooldowns to come back up. If Ashe has flash available for some of these fights, it's going to be a lot easier for OMG to play the game. Without it, it's going to be almost impossible for Starry to be able to do the damage necessary to win these exchanges. Keep an eye on that Vi ultimate that is available if they want to look for some picks that could potentially be on the table with a enchanted crystal arrow flying across the rift.
I definitely like that approach from OMG. If your Ashe doesn't have flash, then just try to force picks away from where the Ashe is and just rely on the raw burst from the Vi and the Taliyah still in this mid game. Now, especially that Haichao has fully finished his second item in that Liandry's Torment. Might not be enough necessarily to blow up a more durable member like the Jarvan, but could try and one-shot this Corki or even this Ahri. Both don't really have the most HP in their builds. EDG just scoping out the rest of the vision on the bottom side of the map. We're about a minute and 15 seconds away from the fourth dragon of the game. Angel trying to take care of this wave on the top side. Is there a play here in this Baron River?
We gotta watch for the Tempered Fate. Could be huge here.
Good sidestep by Starry. Call of the Forge God is going to slow him down. Remember, there is no flash on this Ashe. The arrow stalls the engage for now. No damage for the time being. Xiaohao sends it. Finally, they clip the Ashe, but Xiaohao goes down as the cost. ZDZ now trying to run away from the rest of OMG's Death Squad as a four-man band trying to take this GOAT out of the game. And EDG lose out on both of their main frontline members as well as leaves Corki.
It is so scary to try and engage into this OMG team, and the lack of decisive decision-making coming in from EDG is going to cost them. Baron has been started from OMG, and they do not have their jungler alive. EDG are just going to be in a spot where they have to hope and pray they can stall this long enough. I don't know if Angel and Parukia have what it takes right here.
Baron does shred a lot of armor and MR, but between Angel and Parukia, I don't think it's gonna be enough to look for a punish. Orb of Deception over the wall. No smite steal available, and no gimmicks will be had as Rio sends it on to Parukia. The magical journey takes him over the wall. He's a little too tanky to take down right away, flashing away from the equalizer. Xiaohao's there, but a seismic shove flick from Haichao clips the support of EDG. And once again, Kman, we are seeing OMG miraculously find these comeback windows and regaining control of the game away from EDG.
I mean, you can call it miraculous, but their comp is built to do exactly this. Yes, you have no flash on the Ashe, but watch Seraphine's positioning in this fight. It is so difficult to engage onto this. Hery is on this massive flank with the Rumble. He immediately finds leave, completely disconnected from the rest of his team. The wall is gorgeous to cut off his escape path, and it's just over. The Ashe is able to survive so long because the Seraphine is there. The Seraphine ultimate ends up clipping and making sure that the Jarvan can't engage fully. Overall, it's OMG just playing their comp better right now than EDG is, and they've generated a 3k gold lead for it. You look at the map state, 2 dragons to 2 dragons, that's not a win condition for EDG. Baron buff now on OMG with all of this side lane pressure, all of this tower taking potential through Ashe and Taliyah. It's getting harder and harder to imagine a world where EDG can take this easily. This game state is just on a knife's edge. Hery continuing to try and push out the mid lane here. The bot side just ends up pushing forward down onto this tower. It's going to be that dropping of the tier 2 on the bot side with that Baron buff. The split push going on effectively here. The 4-1 working out for a comp that is very much built to be aggressive in this kind of way. 4K gold lead. Importantly, though, look at where that gold lead is. Yes, we talked about the 2.5K on Ashe. We've really, talked about Starry consistently throughout a lot of this game, but Hery is online. 1,500, 4 kills on this Rumble.
Weaver's Wall.
Weaver's Wall
not
dropped
clip
into
leave
the mid lane.
on the other side. This time, the Corki makes it out alive. Still 3 minutes. Oh, wait a minute. Xiaohao onto Haichao in the backline. Call the Forge God is going to follow up onto the backline as well, but Starry is hitting arrows after another. Not as much damage onto the front line. Flashing away from the equalizer. Everyone from OMG is going forward. Encore clips onto 2. ZDZ and Parukia caught in the ultimate. Xiaohao, one more flag of dragon to the backline. Looking to turn around with Angel as he gets one more Spirit Rush reset off of the dead Seraphine and Taliyah. Seraphine is still alive, but EDG are not ready to throw in the towel just yet.
The one thing that can't happen for OMG happened. They got their AD carry clipped at the start of the fight. Unfortunately, it's just not enough damage coming out from OMG to be able to make that work. EDG are much more decisive in the way that they engage there, and they shut off a Baron push that could have been the end of the game. They still have some work to do, but that is the gold lead on Xiaohao really coming into play on the Jarvan. Really well executed from him. Once again, it's an aggressive Weaver's Wall to try and catch leave out, but at the end of the day, it's just for the tower. At this point, you got what you wanted. You want to keep going because you have the Baron buff, but the vision isn't there. Xiaohao takes the portal in. Haichao's been left entirely on his lonesome, and even with the damage coming down onto the Jarvan, being able to take down some important targets at the start of that fight, it's almost instantly over. Starry tries to step up and do damage, but like I said, he just gets clipped a little bit too much in this fight. From the Bard, from Xiaohao, from Angel, who end up really making it work. Hery with a fantastic Rumble ultimate in this exchange. He has been huge for the team, but he can't do it all on his own. They need to make sure they take smarter fights than that moving forward, but EDG, they wanted a way back into the game, and they just found it.
Surprising to me that ZDZ has only been able to pick up 2 full items on this Ornn, but with every item purchase that this tank gets for himself, it becomes exponentially more difficult for OMG to immediately deal with him in these fights. The fact that ZDZ lasted so long provided enough space and enough time for EDG to get second rotation of cooldowns and re-engage in these fights now that major buttons were expended by OMG. Xiaohao goes in, doesn't get the flag and drag, but locks them down with the Cataclysm. Flash is forced out of Hery. Xiaohao goes golden.
Angel.
And they're going to look for the play. Angel flanking for the left side. Rio forced to flash away. Angel's run out of Spirit Rush charges, but he gets one more reset, looking for Moham next. Charm not quite available. Rest of OMG trying to group up as a death ball, knowing that they are greater together rather than isolated and picked apart. EDG only managed to pick up 1 off of the engage attempt, but it continues to stall out the game. We are 30 seconds away from another dragon spawning.
Yeah, it's a very, very important fight to make sure you don't overcommit to if you're either team because of that dragon coming up. It's soul point for both of them. Of course, Baron will be on the map as well, basically the exact same time, but this is where OMG's comp is going to run into problems. Yes, you have damage, and yes, you have engage, but if you're playing on the back foot, things become very tough. You mentioned Ornn starting to get those items. Guardian Angel completed for this Jarvan. Now the aggression can really start to ramp up. You can find those Cataclysm engages because you don't have to worry about getting bursted down early on in these fights. Things are getting harder for OMG as this dragon is spawning. Looks like they'll at the very least have some control over this river right now, but once again, you have to keep that control and that vision dark for EDG.
Double control wards in the line brush just to try and guarantee vision for an extra millisecond. Both of them are extinguished immediately by EDG's squad. Baron is now spawned, as well as the dragon. Can OMG even sneak a dragon while EDG potentially look to shift over to the Baron? Oh, Rio!
Oh.
Immediate pulls the trigger onto Angel! No more Ari, the Encore will clip with the 2 members. EDG is caught in the crossfire right on top of the equalizer! A massive sequence for OMG! And that's a free Baron if I've ever seen one.
What a play from OMG. They see the angle onto Angel, who's just way too far forward, and Rio, the rookie, pulls the trigger. He has turned around OMG's fate in this split, and he does so once again in this game. That is Baron going over. Yes, it is soul point exchanged for EDG, but it is a consolation prize at best for the game state that they are in. What a play for OMG. We're going to see how this starts. Angel's just stepping too far forward. There's no vision. This is exactly what I was talking about. The vision advantage for OMG is how they win these fights. They catch Angel out with a great Vi ultimate. The shove coming back in. The kill on the ZDZ is just extra on top of the cake here. It's even more gold for Starry, who's now really starting to ramp up. That Lord Dom's completed 4 items done for this Ashe. You want to talk about having trouble being able to break through these tanks. If ZDZ is going to be building for the Rumble and for the Talia and for the Seraphine, this Ashe can definitely start to get really, really scary at the end of this game, and that could have been the exact thing they needed in order to pick up this one.
We have to reiterate to everyone watching, it's not a veteran. It's not a super experienced high prospect that is making the calls here. It is a rookie who is making his tier 1 debut, trying to lift OMG out from the depths of what was the ultimate pinnacle of Elo hell for OMG, getting relegated at the end of Split 2 and trying to push them into greater heights. And as we said before at the top of the show, that was the bottom, and it can only be up from here. But Rio, off the back of coming in from the tier 2 squad and reshaping the direction and the boldness of this team, he's really trying to take them farther than anyone could have ever imagined.
It is staggering just how much better this team has looked with the aggression that Rio offers, but this game is not over. Push down onto the top side. Can definitely be thwarted by an EDG team that still has plenty of engage tools. Remember, that is what their comp specializes in. The Jarvan,
Weaver's
the
Wall,
Ornn, the Bard. They have ways to fight. Here we go.
On the other side, it's a flash forward from ZDZ trying to force the engage, but there's no damage follow-up on top of it. That's called the Forge God exchange for an equalizer. EDG at least able to hold off one wave longer. OMG gonna ride in the next one. Parukia angling for a tempered fate. Just waiting for his time. EDG are just going to concede the inhibitor tower, let the inhibitor on the top side drop as well. Baron buff will expire in the next 35 seconds. EDG deciding just to weather the storm and wait for their time.
But do they have enough to be able to hold off for OMG taking this tower? Again, you noted only 25 seconds. They're going to look for this. This could be the time to pull the trigger if you're EDG.
Xiaohao has GA available. Starry flashes away from the Tempered Fate. Now that is a clear target for EDG to look for in the next engage attempt. Angel angling on the left flank, trying to see if he can link up with Xiaohao once he pulls the trigger on that Cataclysm on a flashless Ashe. Starry staying far back forward. Parukia caught by the Ashe Arrow! An immediate deletion from the game! And OMG are pushing into the base. Xiaohao deep behind enemy lines, looking for a flank. That could never happen now that their support is gone. EDG. Xiaohao's gonna send it anyway. This is a Hail Mary attempt if I've ever seen one. He has to look for Starry. That's the only person that does not have a flash. Weave in the middle of multiple people. GA already expended. Angel's forced the Spirit Rush away as Rio comes back from the grave, ready to throw these hands and force Leave to flash backwards. OMG still standing strong as 5, pushing through the Nexus towers, but they cannot take it all just yet, Kman, and they will back off for now.
They have done everything but end the game. OMG with a decisive ultimate onto Parukia that ends up completely changing the fortunes of this game. They're waiting for the Xiaohao flank, but they're just not respecting the fact that, yes, we're the engage comp, but OMG also have tools that they can use to get in as well. The only saving grace is that the game is not over and that flashes were burned for OMG, but just under a minute on that dragon. It would be soul for EDG. I have a hard time believing they're going to be able to get into that river. Talk about what OMG's comp does best. Taking away vision, setting up these opportunities around these neutral objectives. That is what they really thrive on. And with a 4,000 gold lead for Hery on the top side and Starry with 8 kills, it's even more deadly now than it's ever been.
Unfortunately for OMG, Starry's flash is not going to come back off cooldown by the time Cloud Soul potentially spawns for EDG in 23 seconds. Hery has been quite the force on this Rumble and has allowed OMG to still stay ahead of the curve. But a lot of that power is in that equalizer. If it misses, there's always a chance for EDG to turn around. But OMG still have the siege advantage on their side. They're going to get first touch back into the dragon side of the jungle because the rest of EDG are forced to deal with the waves first.
Yeah, that's the hard part here. You want to talk about, oh, OMG, you know, they don't really have a comp that can, you know, play front to back. They don't have a ton of engage. It doesn't matter. You've got side lane control for days here. You're never really going to be on even footing if you're EDG in terms of being able to play out these lane states. You need to send a lot of members to cover these lanes or else things are going to get out of control very quickly. That opens up the opportunity for, you know, the Vi and the Talia and the Seraphine to pull the trigger on some of these engages for now. OMG going to take the dragon. Going to delay that win condition. Soul is technically on the board for them in 5 minutes if they want to wait that long, but Baron in 20 seconds is really where I'm looking. The setup is there. If they can get vision around the objective, how do you walk into this comp?
Parukia gets first touch on this pixel brush on the top side. He's able to provide some decent vision coverage, but not enough to make EDG feel the most comfortable about face checking into the darker parts of this Barrenside River.
Yeah, I mean, this is the nightmare for a Bard player, right? Baron has started up here. Xiaohao's in the area. They're going to at the very least have vision that this has been started. But this is a dangerous game for EDG to have to play. If one of their members gets hit by one of these CC abilities, it could be over. That being said, if Jarvan or Bard or Ahri can find a charm onto, you know, one of these pivotal members, the Rumble, the Ashe, even the Seraphine in these fights, I mean, it really just is who gets tagged first. Who is the player that ends up dropping, and where does that numbers advantage come in?
Rio.
Here we go.
ZDZ flashing away from the seismic shove and encore combo. Rio was ready on the right of that wall to send it with the cease and desist to further look for what could have been a Baron winning pick. But EDG still have all 5 of their members, and those are big tools that are now gone from the side of OMG.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. EDG are in a spot now where they actually kind of have control over this Baron and over this river with no ultimates for the bot lane. Looks like they are starting it up. This thing is dropping really, really fast with the Corki if they want to try and burn it. TPs are coming in. OMG do not want to give this over, but they've lost control of the vision game.
They have to enter through mid-river. 6,000 HP. It's not burning down fast enough. Rio gets into the pit. Cease and desist. Rio! The rookie jungler for OMG comes up huge, seals the Baron, and denies what could have been an EDG comeback in this game. ZDZ gets dropped as well. OMG have to thank their lucky stars in Rio for tonight's series.
Rio, the OMG Academy player to come up and save the season for OMG, continues to pressure out everyone. He is proving that he is not just an upgrade, he is a franchise-defining player as OMG march on to the end here.
Xiaohao for the Cataclysm. Hail Mary attempt gets locked down. Stasis onto a couple members here, and it's just not enough. The Hail Mary falls flat, and OMG are pushing EDG backs against the wall as we're getting ready for match point in favor of not EDG, but it's OMG 2-0 in the series. 1 game win away from advancing in the play-in stage.
Raafaa, I never in a million years expected this to go this way for OMG, but it is beautiful. You can talk about the comp being difficult to execute, but as I was saying the entire game, as we were talking about the entire game, that gold that they were giving to the Ashe mattered. That gold that they were giving to the Rumble mattered. And at the end of the day, OMG was better than EDG in game number 2, and they're walking away 1 game away from knocking EDG out of this play-in stage.
Okay, man, we have to start contemplating a reality where, oh my god, 3-0's Edward Gaming. Don't get me wrong, we definitely thought that, okay, OMG can maybe take a game off of EDG. Maybe 2 games if EDG are a little off. But to take the first 2 games of the series in this fashion, where EDG have advantages, have ways to play out the game, and they are just getting straight up outplayed. Unfathomable expectations, but this is the reality that we're living in right now.
Let's not forget how that game started. This looked cooked. I mean, this looked over. I cannot stress that enough. They had a 2,000 gold lead at 8 minutes. EDG did in this game. They had all of their gold on Jarvan. But really, what it came down to is that so much of that gold was on the Bard. In the support position, he picks up 4 kills in the early game. And now all of a sudden, your Corki and Ahri really aren't in the position they need to be to kind of utilize this big gold difference. Yeah. And the Jarvan, for as much as he can pressure out, the Vi ultimate was more useful. You have the Talia moving around the map. And where did those trade kills go? They went to the Ashe. And the Ashe was huge. Starry was fantastic in this game on that champion, and really what it came down to is better execution. I've said it a couple of times, but when you are out there and you don't have the front line, you don't have the engage, you just have the playmaking tools, you have to execute better. You have to be more clinical. That's what OMG was in this game.
Better execution and also less fear from OMG. I mean, Rio is going for plays that he knows it's a one-way trip for him. Because when you're playing Vi, you don't have the luxury of making an engage, and then, especially if you don't have flash, you say, oh, okay, I didn't like that engage, I'm out now. No, you're in it for better or for worse. And Rio, for a majority of the game, was hitting the better side of the flips. And to have someone like that not only be a rookie, but also the person that is defining OMG's success right now is the greatest thing that OMG fans could have ever hoped for going into a year in 2026 where 2025 was defined by an early departure from tier 1 play halfway through the freaking season.
I mean, I said it in the end game call there, like, this is their franchise guy now. I'm not trying to overreact and panic, but Rio has become such an important piece for this OMG team so quickly. You're talking about someone who came through their system, who played for OMG Academy, who's been promoted and has immediately been able to make an impact of this caliber. He's not going up against just Group Nirvana talent anymore. It's not just Ultra Prime and LGD who are done for split number 1. This is an EDG team with players that have consistently been able to make the playoffs over and over again. Players that are always contending to be at bare minimum top half in their role. Xiaohao, a player who's had a ton of success over the course of his career, even on bad teams. He is playing better than these guys right now. He's the best player on the Rift in a series that matters so much for this organization. And you just have to be so excited for them to have been able to find this. The only frustration, I think, for OMG fans has been, why did it take this long? Like, you know, this guy has been here. He's playing in Demacia Cup. Like, we wanted to see this guy in, but it's clear that, you know, now, earlier, it doesn't matter. As long as they got this guy in, it's better late than never.
2-0 to lead the series for OMG versus EDG. Like we said, folks, the loser of this series is automatically relegated to Group Nirvana for Split 2, and their Split 1 run is over. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean the winner automatically qualifies to playoffs, but it puts them one step closer. And at this rate, if we are to just, you know, push forward into the future, the way that the play-in final round seeding works and how those matches are determined, it's the highest seed remaining versus the lowest seed remaining, and then the other best of 5 would be the next highest versus the next lowest sequentially. So originally, when we thought EDG were favored, it would have ended up in IG versus LNG, because LNG would have been the only Group Perseverance team or a Group Nirvana team left, and IG is the only Group Ascend team left. But if OMG advances tonight after one more game win, it's OMG versus IG to qualify to playoffs and to get into Group Ascend for Split 2. And that was a reality I was not entertaining at all until right now.
Hey, I'm not going to use the transitive property too much here, but EDG was the hottest team in Group Perseverance, and OMG are beating them consistently. NIP was able to take down Invictus Gaming. That's a team that wasn't doing so hot even against EDG. I mean, this is certainly something that you got to be worried about. OMG are on fire right now. I can't stress this enough, including this series. OMG have dropped one game since Rio joined. Not one series, one game since he joined. And that is how dominant this team has been. They look completely reinvigorated, unlocked in a lot of different ways. And it was that decisiveness. It was the ability to pull the trigger at the right moment on the Vi. You know, we are starting to get to the point in these games where best of 5 starts to matter. I'm not saying EDG are out entirely. Rio's a player that, you know, we've seen him on the Vi, we've seen him on the Xinjiao, we've seen him be able to play these picks. What else does he have in the chamber now that a lot of his champions are off the board? That is going to be the question, but man, through 2 games, I mean, you gotta say it's looking just about as good as it possibly can.
Yeah, and this OMG success is now mirroring the hype that was behind them in Demacia Cup, where both LNG and OMG, I know we're kind of, does Hery, should Hery have gotten player of the game? Like, he had a major gold lead, he had a major individual advantage over the Ornn and ZDZ. For us, the flashier plays were really by Rio in saving the game, but he was a consistent damage presence in those late game fights. I would have been curious to see how many of the LPL broadcast voted for Hery, and if there was like conflict between him and Rio. I think we would have leaned towards Rio, but okay, we got confirmation there was 2 people that voted for jungle, everyone else was voting for top. Okay, well,
look,
GG.
I might not like the result, but I understand it. I mean, Hery hit some crazy good equalizers this game. The damage that he was putting out on these team fights was massive. Starry as well, I think, had a great game. I want to give him a shout out on the Ashe. Not always the easiest performance. He started like 1-4 and ended this game with 8 kills. Really impressive stuff from OMG.
All right, well, match point on the line for OMG going into game 3 and Edward Gaming. If you want to continue your split 1 run, you can no longer allow any more losses going forward. All the mistakes that you've made up until this point, you have to wipe them from your memory and lock in. Otherwise, we're not seeing you again until split 2. And for you guys at home, we're going to be seeing you in a short bit right after this break.